Welcome back, everybody. We're vegging out on today's show, and this is a fun dip recipe that you actually make with beans. It's a white bean, lemon, and rosemary dip, kind of on the order of hummus. If you like hummus, you are going to love this. And if you've never tried a white bean dip, let me tell you, it rocks. And the best part about it, it's healthy. It's good for you. So dip, dip, dip away. Super easy to make, too. It's very on trend right now. I mean, hummus has become huge. Kids are packing hummus. My daughter takes hummus in her lunch bag when she goes to school. So hummus everybody knows about. This is kind of the next thing, and it's a great make-ahead. So perfect for any type of get-together that you're having, especially in the summer. No mayonnaise involved, so if it sits out and becomes room temperature, it's just fine. So it starts with 2 cans of the Italian cannellini beans. So, that's another added bonus to this recipe. Really cheap to make. Canned beans are super inexpensive. And as Ann said, lots of fiber. True, how could I forget that? Okay, so we're just going to open the can, but we want to take the time, and this is super important with a lot of canned bean recipes. Not all of them, but most of them. Depends on the type of bean it is. But there's this not so great liquid inside that it's edible, I'm sure, but we don't want any part of that in our recipe. So it's real important not to just drain, but we're going to drain and rinse these beans. And it's as easy as getting a colander. We happen to have one of these little colanders, which really works great for, doing this type of a job. There's always a few beans just left in the bottom there, so I'm just going to use a spatula and get those babies out. They don't want to get in the dip, but they're going to, like it or not. So this is the hardest part of the recipe, is just getting the beans out of the can, and then real important to drain and rinse them. I do a lot of recipes with black beans, and that's another canned bean that really needs rinsing. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I always kind of weigh, should I get the old food processor out when I'm going to do certain recipes, or should I do it by hand? In this case, it's definitely worth it. Pull it out, because it's going to whip up this dip in no time. You certainly could do it by hand. It's not going to get nice and smooth as the food processor. And I was thinking about doing this dip in the blender. I'm thinking the food processor is really the way to go on this. Okay, so now we're going to do some garlic. We're going to add some garlic in with our beans. I'm going to do some salt. Some pepper, quite a bit of it. I remember having this at a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, that they just brought it to the table right at the bat. We didn't order it, but it was one of their just hors d'oeuvres that they started all the meals with at the restaurant, and I just fell in love with it, and I was like, I got to figure out a way to make this at home. So olive oil. Do a little more garlic. We're going to do some fresh lemon zest, and we're also going to, I'm not going to do it all now, we're going to put some in later, and then we've got some fresh rosemary. So there's some really great flavors in this dip between the rosemary and the garlic and the beans. This is not going to be a boring dip. Fresh rosemary. We're actually growing that in a pot out on the deck right now, but it's got a little ways to go. So we picked this up at the store, and really easy to work with. And wow, sometimes there are some herbs that are just fine dry. Oregano. Dried oregano is, do you agree with me on that, Lindsay? Mm-hmm. Sometimes dried oregano is better or more flavorful than the fresh. Rosemary, on the other hand, there is nothing like the fresh. So in this case, there's just a few ingredients in this. Go for the fresh rosemary. Okay, I mean, dry herbs have their place, don't get me wrong. They really do, but this is just really makes this. So I just kind of took the leaves. It's kind of like a pine tree, and you just kind of run your fingers. You don't want that, it's got a real rough kind of woody stem, and you don't want that getting in this dip at all. So we'll do one more. We'll strip the leaves off just like that, real easy. It's very strong, rosemary is. My daughter Ireland, not a huge fan, so if I try and sneak it in recipes, I only will put a little bit in there. She'll know otherwise. I happen to love it, more the better for me. And then we're gonna give it a rough chop because it really does need a nice chop. Food processor is gonna do most of the work for me, but I'm gonna save a little to actually put in at the end. So, okay, time to give this baby a whirl. I like it pretty smooth, so I'm going to do a little more olive oil. And I'll throw in some lemon juice. Don't want to get any seeds in there, so I'll use the old trick of doing it over your hand. So that way you catch the seeds. This is a real kind of earthy, rustic dip, and then a little more, just more zest to really pump up the lemon flavor. And throw a little more rosemary in there too, just because I like extra rosemary. Okay, one more whirl, and this should be nice and smooth. I like to serve this. It's great with veggies for dipping. Fresh veggies, carrots and celery and fresh broccoli and all those great veggies, roasted, you know, red pepper strips and things like that. Great with pita chips, but my favorite thing to serve this with is just crostini, which is so easy to make. You basically just take French bread, brush it with some olive oil, season it with some different herbs or garlic, salt, and pepper to really make it easy, and just toast it in the oven until it gets golden like that. And you can, if you're having people over, you can get that crostini done a day or even two ahead and just park it into a Ziploc bag. Well, that wasn't very good. I did a white bean spill, but we'll clean that right up, and then you can see this gorgeous crostini, and then we can garnish with fresh rosemary. So I'll make this platter look gorgeous, I promise I will. And coming up, we've got another great recipe with veggies. We're making a great big tuna salad with fresh veggies, a vegan tuna salad, and carrot cake, homemade cardamom carrot cake. Coming up, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back.